Hello, Bible readers. It is February 26th, Friday. We're reading from Second Chronicles, 6 chapters. It's a lot of Second Chronicles, chapters 18 through 23. And then you got First Corinthians chapter 12, verse 12 through 13. And actually, I don't get into chapter 13 because I thought we'd take on First Corinthians 13 in a block by itself when it's assigned. So, 1 Corinthians, here in the rest of chapter 12, we see Paul's best known image of the church, and that is the church is the body of Christ. These metaphors, these illustrations, these words that Paul uses, that the church uses, we might wonder, like, where does this image come from? This idea that the church is a body unto itself with equal parts. Well, this letter is one of the primary places that we get that idea, that the church is the body of Christ. He's already used other images: building, temple, field. Body of Christ is used, though, by Paul in response to disunity, which happens often in the church, especially in Corinth. Another interesting thought: some churches think about becoming the body of Christ, as though that's kind of a goal of a congregation. If we behave in a certain way, or if we get it right, if we do faith correctly, then maybe we can be the body of Christ. But that's not how Paul talks about it at all. He's saying through the death and resurrection of Jesus, being baptized into that resurrection, we're already the body of Christ. And so his point is, be what you already are. Like I say to my kids, you are a child of God, act like it. It's not act like a child of God so you might become a child of God. That's not how it works. So, also, each member of the body is equally important. What a celebration of the diversity of gifts. Some of you are going to be gifted in these ways, some of you gifted in these ways, but they're all equally important to the body of Christ. At verse 27, Paul makes another list. He's done this a couple other times. And the list Paul produces for gifts of the Spirit, they're not all exactly the same, first of all. They're also not meant to be complete. These aren't all the gifts of the Spirit. Paul does not do an exhaustive list here. They're meant to simply illustrate a point that he's trying to make. They're trying to reinforce what he's talking about otherwise. Okay, 2 Chronicles. Chapter 18, we've got a collusion with a northern king where Jehoshaphat becomes allies with Ahab. No, not good. And then the next couple chapters, we see how Jehoshaphat is not all bad, especially when we get further and we see these other two kings, Ahaziah and Jehoram. Once we see them, Jehoshaphat actually was quite good, but Jehoshaphat does have this, he's mostly okay, but in chapter 19, he's seeking God, or maybe we could say finding God through social reform. In chapter 20, it's finding God through trust and deliverance. But then he has this soft spot for making allies with the northern king, and does so again in the paragraph right before it says Jehoshaphat dies to sleep with his ancestors, that he colludes again with the northern king. The next three chapters are about a threat to the dynasty of the Davidic kings. Jehoram and Ahaziah, they are not faithful. Like, as much as Jehoshaphat was mostly faithful, but had this soft spot for northern kings, Jehoram and Ahaziah are like the opposite of. They're very rarely faithful and have lots of soft spots. And the house of Ahaziah had no one able to rule the kingdom. That's eventually what we read, and it's like, well, that's how dynasties end. But the Lord recommits to the Davidic dynasty, and it survives. So the Davidic dynasty is here shown not to really have any credit with Jehoram and Ahaziah, but instead with the Lord. During the divided kingdom, Jehoshaphat's reign is kind of the high point, and then the next two, you see the contrast as Jehoram and Ahaziah mark the low point. But The point is, God's promise persists. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.